Tell him about the time we faced.
All right. Well, as I remember.
At Avenger headquarters.
Because united, the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel Evolution Show with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
And it's been ages, guys. It's been a whole 5 minutes since we was on live. So, yeah, if you're listening to this playback, we've just on the back of our last recording with Luke Smith. If you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that one. We talk about all things to do with Spider-Man, his future in the MCU, the Sony spin-offs, the Sony movies, the animated shows, loads of great conversation in that one with Luke Smith of Hydra Collectibles. So go back and listen to that one if you have not already listened to it. But we're here tonight now with our second show of the evening, where we're going to do our usual sort of roundup news of the week, what we've been up to in Marvel, what's happening in the MCU. Again, other than buying a little bit of merch this week, I've read a little bit more of my Guardians omnibus stuff, which is like the sort of new Guardians things. We come up with an idea for a show the other day, and I was talking to the guys, and we're going to try and watch one of these animated movies, the next Avengers, and see if we can get you guys to anybody listening and anybody watching live to comment on that one and watch along with us. But other than that, I've not been up to much. Alex, have you been reading much this week or anything like that?
I haven't been reading much, but I will say Next Avengers is a fantastic movie, by the way. Like, I've seen that. I watched that movie, I think it's been out for probably at least a decade. And I think I watched it in college, and I just found it, I think, on Netflix or something one day, and just was like, I'll give this a watch, and absolutely loved it. It's great, and it's got Ultron in it, so
yeah, it has,
like love Ultron. So, but as for like reading anything, I don't think I've really read anything this week. I did get one Marvel Funko, and it was the Scarlet Witch holding the little Halloween pail, like her, in her Halloween costume, the Sokovian fortune teller or whatever that she calls it, her classic costume. So.
Oh no, I'm not going to be able to reach it. I did get another little bit of merch. I got some glasses. I should have poured my beer into a glass because I've got these really cool little glasses. They were on going really cheap in the store, so I thought I'd pick them up. But yeah, that's the only other bit of merch I bought. Jarian, have you been reading anything, watching anything?
So we were at Target, was it end of last weekend, I think, early this week, and we found a Wakanda cookbook, like Foods of Wakanda cookbook. My son found and picked out. So we've been kind of going through that to kind of see what he wants to make first. But there's some pretty interesting recipes in there. And no matter if you're a vegetarian or vegan or straight carnivore, there's recipes in there for every different food style choice. So that's where we've been looking at that, and probably this week or next weekend probably make a dish from it. I'll post it to the group.
Oh, that's great. That's a great fun way, I guess, as well, to get your kids involved into the cooking as well. Which I think is really important. I was literally just saying today that I think it's really important for. So you said your son was, making recipes, was he? And he was into that. And I think it's really important for young boys as well, to understand the value of cooking and cleaning and ironing and doing the housework and all of those kind of stuff, and just to let them know that they're chores and things to be done rather than gender specific roles and jobs. So I think that's a really, really cool thing to do. And if buying a Wakanda cookbook can help your young lads get into cooking, then that's fantastic. So yeah, brilliant. Love that.
He actually helps me cook all the time. I think, was it last weekend or 2 weekends ago? I got a new grill. And so he's like, "Can I have your old one?" And so I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can we smoke something on it?" I'm like, "What do you want to pick for yours?" I'm like, "Let's go to the store then, and you can pick out your first meat that you want to do for your first smoke run." He picked out beef ribs on it, which they came out really good. I helped him a little bit, but mostly it was I told him what to do, walked him through it, and he did most of it, and I explained the importance of all the food safety and fire and knives and that kind of stuff. And he's helped us in the kitchen before, but I was pretty impressed, until he kind of lost interest for a little bit, but he came back because he kind of got frustrated. But he came back and helped finish it, and it came out pretty good. So.
Nice. You'll be able to sit back and relax with that beer soon.
Yep, so exactly.
Just go on, off you go. I'm sitting there waiting. Dad's waiting. No, that's great. That's brilliant. Right, news of the week. Let's get stuck into it, shall we? Because how much have we got? We got a great deal of stuff, Jerry.
Sorry, my wife was texting me. I was checking my watch real quick. We have a good amount of stuff. So let's start off. Wakanda Forever. Angela Bassett has won another award for her portrayal of Queen Ramonda. She won the Critics' Choice Award for Best Supporting Actress for Marvel Studios' Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. They've also won another one. So Ruth E. Carter won the Critics' Choice Award for Best Costume Design for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever as well. And they keep getting nominated for more stuff. So, I think I shared some stuff to the group where it seems like almost all these award shows, Angela Bassett and people from the crew are getting nominated for something every week. So it's pretty good to see for that.
It's quite surprising that Tanit Huerta and Winston Duke, especially those two, also haven't been nominated or won anything. I think for their part in that movie. I thought they were tremendous. I thought every time I saw Winston Duke on screen, I just wanted him to stay on screen. And every interaction he had with a character, but there was only a few, but I thought they were really sort of pivotal moments that he had, interactions that he had with characters. And obviously Tanit Huerta was a huge standout for me. Just probably one of my biggest standouts in Phase 4, and I think you agree with me, Alex, with that.
Yep, and I honestly think that his character in that movie was spot on to like a T. I thought for what they were trying to do with it, like it was so great, and everything did feel like a nice little spin on the Namor character, except for when he submitted, and then I was just like, ooh, like I just don't think he would give up that easy, But
I'm telling you, he's playing the long game. That I keep thinking that whole thing was a test because. They could have destroyed Wakanda when Queen Ramonda was killed in that scene. That whole thing, they'd actually backed off and went in the. It was almost like he was the whole time with Shuri. He was playing the long game to find a worthy land level ally for them because at some point they're going to need them, right? And they can also get Wakanda to do things that they can't without being exposed to the world. So I feel like the whole thing was a setup, was a test for Wakanda, even at the end when he's drawing on the wall.
Yeah, he kind of says it.
Yeah. So I don't think. I don't think he just submitted to her. I think that was all a test.
Yeah, I mean, he also kind of gave up on going after Riri as well, which was, a big kind of reversal there as well. So who knows? They could definitely. I thought that he killed every scene. Every scene. Like him and Angela Bassett, like they stole every scene that they were in.
And I'll be surprised if he doesn't win a lot of awards when it comes to the Latin American shows too, because that's where he was making a huge impact with fans. Was that demographic?
Well, it's funny, like seeing him behind the camera. Like he seems like a very nice, kind, like guy. It seems like the complete opposite of how he played that character, and
almost like a fan at times.
Yeah. So wow,
Well, I don't know if you remember, I met him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you showed us a video.
My wife remembers.
Yeah, I bet she does. Yeah. No, you know what? He seems like one of those people that was so genuinely happy for the opportunity to do what he got to do. You could see it on his face, and this is I'm not trying to dig any of the other actors out at all. That's not what I'm trying to do. But by far, he was the most endearing of the people that I met at the London premiere. By far, but a million miles. He was such a nice, kind, warm-hearted. He was happy to be there. You could tell he was. Maybe it was because it was one of his first experiences in that larger sort of crowd. Maybe I don't know. Some of the other people. Dano Guerrera, Martin Freeman, that they might have done it a few more times, so they might have been a little bit more kind of, like, okay, right, I've got to do this again. I'm doing it, and they were fine, absolutely fine. Not in one part of me am I trying to say that they done anything wrong. They certainly didn't, but Huerta was just on another level, sort of grateful almost. He was almost as grateful to meet me as I was to meet him. Do you know what I mean? And meet his fans. So yeah, I agree.
From the chat here, someone agrees with me about my thought on that was all a test and he's playing the long game to find a worthy ally. So I hope that's the way Marvel Studios goes with it too as well. So if anyone out there listening, there you go. The last thing about Wakanda Forever news, the Assemble special for Black Panther Wakanda Forever will hit Disney Plus on February 8th. So
Okay,
right
cool.
after was it the 9th is when Wakanda Forever is on there too,
I thought it was the first.
or is it the first? Okay, the first. So yeah, so
Okay.
2 things out there for Wakanda Forever next month on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Cool.
Quantumania, quite a bit of news here between Quantumania and Loki season 2. So first thing with Quantumania, Kevin Feige on why Ant-Man kicks off Phase 5. We wanted to kick off Phase 5 with Ant-Man because he earned that position to not simply be backup or comic relief, but to take his position at the front of the podium for the MCU. Which this statement means that Ant-Man, or at least the Ant-Man franchise, whether it's Scott Lang or Cassie Lang or Hope Van Dyne, are going to be front and center of the multiverse saga.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Decent.
Yeah.
He also talked about Janet Van Dyne. He said it's about how these 5 family members deal with this environment and the new reality of what their grandmother has been through, and that she's a very, very well-known, very powerful freedom fighter in the quantum realm, which none of them had any idea about until they get down there. So the whole time moves differently and that kind of stuff. What's her time span? Did they ever say that in Ant-Man the Wasp? What her time span was that she thought was down there? I know outside it was like 30 years, I think, on the outside. So I wonder what her perception of time was being down in there.
Well, and what's weird too is I swear with some of those like portals and things that are in the quantum realm, like they said that like time can be like changed there, so like you could experience like time like in a flare there almost. Like so in one part of the quantum realm you could experience time, in another part you couldn't. So, like it almost makes me wonder, like, is Kang in a certain spot where possibly there is none? Maybe they're going to a point where there's like some sort of vortex or something that they are going to send Scott into, and he is the only one that has gone subatomic. So maybe
like
there's
that.
some sort of secret there or something,
It's like that movie Interstellar, where with Matthew McConaughey, and where they're in the spaceship, and they say if you go down to this planet, that's every hour on that planet is going to be like a year or 12 years, and then they go down the planet, and then they come back, and the guy that they left on the spaceship at the top was aged like he says he's been like 12 years or something, and they were only down there for 10 minutes. So yeah.
And also too, look at how Janet aged too from when she went in to when she came out also.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect also. Speaking of that, Michelle Pfeiffer did talk about her relationship with Kang. She does have a very rich history with Kang and unresolved issues. The quantum realm can change a person, and you can have a whole other life down there. It's something that she hasn't wanted to get into. So it does seem like we're going to delve into her whole backstory of what happened while she was in the quantum realm for all those years.
It'd be cool if she's part of the reason why he's like stranded there. Like she was going to help him get out with her knowledge of Pym particles, and then manage to escape out of the quantum realm and leave him stuck there. And he's just been stewing on it, all this time.
Jonathan Majors has also made some comments about Quantumania. Where's that power come from? Well, I mean, here's the thing with villains, or with any character, but particularly with villains, that yes, there is a manifestation of power, but the internal power is really the drive. And I think with Kang, something I found so interesting is that his pain and suffering and discomfort and frustration with society and the world that is so great in him, that friction has allowed him to make himself into the supervillain that you see. It is the internal friction that gives him that power. Now, how it manifests, stay tuned. But yeah, his heartache is great, and I think is so massive. He does live up to that title of being the biggest, baddest MCU villain that we've had. Now, that sounds like, to me, we're going to get some Ravonna stuff in here. Whether it's the Ravonna we saw in Loki, whether it's the Ravonna we saw in Loki season 1, whether it's another variant of Ravonna, we still don't know where she went in Loki season 1 and who she was communicating with. So maybe he, was trying to talk to her and get her back from a lost one that he had before.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't know. It didn't strike me that Ravonna knew who knew anything. I'd say knew anything. It was almost, when she left, she was like, I'm going to go and find answers, or I'm going to go and find the truth, or so, I can't remember exactly what word she said.
Freedom or something like that. It was something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But it didn't strike me that she knew what was going on. So I wonder whether it's not her it's a different version. It's a
It's a
different
variant.
variant of her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like his is trapped like in that time thing, like we saw in the cartoons or whatever. Um, and he finds her by watching stuff on the outside, and he recruits
Yeah.
her over. Yeah, type of thing. Yeah.
And the weird thing would be is if she came to the quantum realm, it would mean that Ravonna could get there using the TVA's tech, which means that Kang would be able to escape. You know what I'm
Using the
saying?
TVA's
Yeah, to leave. So I just don't know if like we would see her in this movie, you know? Like maybe he comes across her at some other point, like out there in the multiverse, wandering around somewhere.
If we do see her in the movie, that's another potential example of show.
Definitely.
I also wonder too if we're not going to see her Ravonna in the movie side until we get to the Kang Dynasty. Maybe we get an explanation of where she went in Loki season 2, and she's back in season 2, and we don't see her interact with Kang until the Kang Dynasty movie. So
There's got to be some reason on why all these people were chosen in the TVA to be workers there. Like there's got to be some sort of either attachment or some rapport with these people before, or some lineage, something that leads, the TVA to almost remain the same with its employees. But like from a top-down perspective, seems like almost every person that works in the TVA was selected to do this.
Yeah.
It's almost like maybe each of them does something that messes with Kang's dynasty in their original life, and so he recruits them into the TVA to where he uses them to keep things in order in the secret timeline, and that way it can't mess his conquering up. Kind of like we saw with when he came back with Cap did something, and he had to come back and defeat the Avengers because Captain America did something that caused Ravonna to be trapped in that time loop type thing. And so maybe it's similar to that, where these people are chosen because of that. They do something that causes him not to become the conqueror.
And they're all taken into custody basically, and then end up working there kind of in this like infinite loop of they just bring on more and more people that get taken into custody.
And they're kind of under a watchful eye. If they're like that, they're being kept an eye on rather than just out there to like causing chaos.
There will be 3 new Ant-Man related episodes of Marvel Legends. They will stream on Disney Plus on February 10th.
Wow.
So so I'm probably gonna see a Scott Lang one, probably a Hank Pym one, and probably a Hope Van Dyne one, or maybe a Janet Van Dyne one. Maybe
I
even
wouldn't expect a Janet one.
Maybe even
they probably do Hank and Janet together.
Yeah.
Like.
They could do the Pym family together as one. But maybe a Kang one, just to kind of catch us up on who Kang is, introduce the people to Kang, because you might think besides Loki season 1, a lot of people who are not into the comics or in the cartoons may not know who Kang is.
How are they going to do that though with the Legends series? Because obviously all the Legends series has included previous MCU content.
They could just do one around just around Kang in the comics, possibly. If they did that,
be breaking the mold a little bit, wouldn't it? But I mean,
or the cartoons, be like, hey, go watch Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Avengers Assemble to learn more. They could do that too. I don't know, but yeah, that's a good point. It probably is Hank and Janet, Hope, and then Scott, probably the 3 ones.
So one of our members, Matt Parker, he was doing an Ant-Man, a Scott Lang, should we say, a Scott Lang rewatch. And he's gone back and watched everything with Scott in it. So he skipped over on Infinity War because Scott wasn't in it. But he's gone and watched Ant-Man, Civil War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Endgame. Yeah, and then Loki, just to sort of finish off that sort of quantum sort of side of things. But and I remember reading part of his review, and he was saying about how he hasn't had any let up. I mean, apart from 5 hours where he was stuck in the quantum realm, he's had no let up. He's sort of bounced from one thing to the next thing very quickly. So his Legends episode would be really great. Those are just fantastic, in my opinion. I absolutely love those Legends episodes, and it just goes to show the depth that Marvel Studios has gone to with their characters, and the depth that's just been created over time, I guess.
Yeah, and now you mentioned that, I wonder what, if they did a Janet and Hank one, they're going to have to add some other stuff to it. Like maybe they have some footage from before, from the S.H.I.E.L.D. days, because, we've seen them in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then in a brief cameo and Endgame, and that's all we've seen of them in the MCU. Then they haven't been in the shows. Like they can't pull from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like they did with Captain Carter. So I wonder what they're going to show. And the same thing with Hope. the same three things for Hope as well. We haven't seen her outside of anything else either. So are they going to pull some footage, like deleted footage, or are they going to put some history in there? I'm interested to see how those ones stack up too as well.
Yeah.
Mhm. It might be interesting for them to kind of explore maybe Cross as well,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he might be MODOK, and I know that like with his character, he was kind of exploring like an alternative to Pym particles to kind of like his own version of those,
Mhm.
and who knows, maybe that's partially responsible for why when he ends up in the quantum realm, if he's down there like that, like it's like, hey, my proportions are all mixed up because of my inferior Pym
proportions are
particle
mixed
that I
up.
was using. Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, maybe
No, I know,
that's
it's
part of
funny.
the reason, like why. But like, I mean, it could very well be like one of those things where it's like it'd be like almost taking a knockoff super soldier serum,
Yep.
like something that's not like as potent as the original one.
I cannot wait for the explanation of how he got to be MODOK.
Yeah.
Because there was that when his body shrunk at the end of Ant-Man, like there was bits shrunk, didn't it? And then it's like, as he then gone into the quantum realm, and that's how he stayed. Like his arms and his legs and his body shrunk, but his head just stayed the same.
Mhm.
That screenshot still cracks me up though. Of his face looks like it's photoshopped on MODOK.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to seeing that kind of explanation as to where he's come from.
Someone in the comments here goes, the super soldier serum from Wish.
Definitely.
That's funny. Let's move right on to Loki season 2. So, industry insider Daniel Rickman says there will be multiple Kang variants in Loki season 2. Also, there's news out there that Jonathan Majors recently filmed more scenes as a variant of Kang for Loki. The season will have more time travel. Loki season 2 will also introduce a new concept called Time Loom. It is the source of the TVA power. They use the energy from the time stream and absorb it. So that's interesting.
Is that what's his face? Daniel RPK.
Yeah, that might be, yeah.
Yeah. He's the one that throws everything at a wall and just waits to see what sticks.
Well, the King variants one is what he said, but the rest of the stuff has been reported by other places. So
I mean, could time energy just be like quantum energy in the MCU? I mean, like we saw them like pump time through Scott and change him like as a person from baby to adult to an old man to back to a baby to back to being a normal person in his normal age. But like could quantum energy be kind of, I guess, like we know that the quantum realm is related to time travel and all that because we saw that with Tony Stark doing it in Endgame, but could that also be responsible for other things here?
Yeah. Well, look how. Go ahead.
What were they scooping up at the end of Ant-Man and Wasp? What was Scott sent to get?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That was how they kind of fixed Ghost in a way, how she helped stabilize her. Janet had the extra power she came out with as well. So I wonder if that's that quantum energy that they were trying to get to be able to do stuff when he got trapped down there during the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
And there's that shovel in Loki that they find that's like from a different time, like at a different point in time. It's like from the future, and it's like the quantum shovel that's digging quantum ore or whatever. Like a quantum shovel, really? Like what are you doing with that? Like where are you going with that? So
Quantum shovel.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just don't think that they would throw something like that in there that would say that it's literally got, like, a screen on the shovel and it says, like, quantum ore or whatever. I just don't think that just has no meaning. Like, Scott makes that joke that they put quantum in front of everything, but, like, I feel like we're kind of getting to that point where every time you hear the word quantum, it actually is going to mean something, like, it's not just throwing it on something. So.
A comment from the chat here. I saw that interesting concept. Hope they explain like they did the timelines in Loki, and maybe one of those Marvel Legends special is just the quantum realm.
Yeah,
and how the all that kind of stuff, because the quantum realm's been here for a couple different things. Loki, Ant-Man, the Ant-Man movies, Endgame, and so the quantum realm could just be an episode of Legends by itself.
Yeah, it could.
Anything else you want to talk about Quantumania or Loki season 2? Because that's all I have.
No, not really. I think I exhausted it last week, but Alex has got something. Go on, Alex.
I'll just throw this out there. Did you guys really think that at this point in time, like I guess looking back, that in the past when we first got the quantum realm, that it would be as important as it's kind of turned out to be? Because it feels like it's gotten far more important than I originally thought it would be in the MCU.
I would say, go ahead.
No, go.
I would say after the first Ant-Man, I wasn't sure how much importance it will play. I think Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, it got more importance because of how they were doing things, and this whole Sonny Burch thing about the secret buyer, with what happened with Ghost and the accident, and then Janet healing her, and them getting the stuff down there, and that also saving Scott from the snap. That's where I thought it kind of started playing more importance too. And speaking of Sonny Burch, I hope we find out whoever he's tied to, because that's still a left open thing out there. And are we going to see him in Quantumania? Or maybe he was working for someone in the quantum realm. Who knows? So
yeah, I feel like Pym particles are almost like a synthesized version of quantum energy somehow, and that's going to be like kind of almost like a. Yeah, what bothers me is that scene where Scott goes subatomic, and then he uses a Pym particle to like pull himself out of almost like the foundation of the quantum realm. That's also the foundation of like the multiverse. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like almost micro-sized in the quantum realm.
Do you think they can make that the reason for Kang coming back is because of Scott doing that? Because he basically messed the regulator, which Hank Pym said don't do, and he put the Pym particles in there to save himself out of going subatomic.
My idea is there's something that's subatomic in like the quantum realm, and Kang can't get to it because he doesn't have Pym particles. So he's gonna try and send Scott, excuse me, into the like subatomic like form, like that small, to go get whatever is lost in this, like, because that scene where he's like running and you're seeing like multiple versions of himself and stuff like that. That's kind of like that weird kind of like kaleidoscope like thing that happened to him when he first went in like subatomic in the first movie, and he like literally was like looking around and it was just like everything was shimmering and there was like multiple versions of it and stuff. So I almost feel like Scott's the only person that's made it out of that, and maybe like it's one of those things where it's like, hey, nobody knows how he got out of it. So
well, Janet did too, though. Janet went subatomic also when they tried to stop that ICMB in the first Ant-Man. So she found a way in the quantum realm to get out of it, where Scott already had, how did she get out of the subatomic place as well?
But,
Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I didn't realize how important it would be until the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second movie. I think it was obvious then, when they were dusted, that what was not obvious, but it was obvious it was going to play a huge part going forwards. But no, what I was actually going to say is, and I thought where you was going with this, Alex, which I thought was a bit of a strange question, but you didn't go there anyway. So, but I'll mention it anyway. Is that did we think way back when we got that first Ant-Man movie that we'd be getting, so when was that? 2016?
So maybe 15.
15?
Maybe 15. I think it was 15. And I think the second one was in 2017 or 2018 or something.
That's right, because it was before Civil War, wasn't it? So and Civil War was 2015, I think, or maybe 2016. But yeah, so but 2015, so 8 years ago now. Did I ever think 8 years ago that we'd be talking about Kang the Conqueror in an Ant-Man movie with MODOK and, Stature, and, is Kate Bishop going to turn up to get Stature to join a Young Avengers team so that they could go and find Wanda, who's just been crushed under Mount Wondagore after a Multiverse of Madness movie where we had Agent Carter. It's insane, isn't it, when you think about it, how far this story has come in a relatively short amount of time. They've built this universe is just incredible. But anyway, that was a bit deep for where we're going tonight.
No, but also too, to add, he's the fourth solo trilogy in the MCU. Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Ant-Man. Who'd have thought that would have happened too?
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Spider-Man.
he's the fifth. So he's the fifth. Sorry, Spider-Man. So and of all those five, Ant-Man, it's like one of these things, not like the other. You're right. They're all big names.
Yeah.
So
It's just one of those things to me where, like I've said this before, I didn't really take Paul Rudd seriously playing Ant-Man at first when he came into the MCU, and I don't think really anybody did. So the fact that he's had a trilogy and the fact that the quantum realm has become such a large part of the MCU for me, I think was just like amazing in my mind for them to attach that to Paul Rudd, because like a lot of people were kind of just really caught off guard by being like, really, Paul Rudd? Now I can't imagine him as anybody else in the MCU. Like, love him as Scott Lang, want more of him all the time. But like, you know,
I think I think Paul Rudd is probably just a likable guy.
Yeah, definitely.
Just full stop. You know, I think it doesn't matter. It wouldn't have mattered who he played. You just would have wanted more of Paul Rudd. You know what I mean?
And I think most people are only know him from his comedic side in his films, or TV. You know, but he does some pretty good serious stuff too, where you know he's not comedic and he still kills those roles. So he can play that good balance of both. From the chat here, I think it'll become more importantly eventually. And then as far as it goes to King and Janet, I think Janet broke his toys. LOL.
Yeah.
And probably did. You know, maybe she's the reason why he's still stuck there, or she double crossed him. You know, he gave her refuge at first, and she double crossed him, and that's here we are now. So
she broke his time chair or something. You know, like.
Next thing, we are finally gonna get the releases in China again for Marvel Studios releases. And this is the first time since Spider-Man Far From Home debuted in June 2019, Chinese audiences will be able to catch a Marvel Studios film in theaters. So Black Panther Wakanda Forever and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania will have slated release dates in China, heading to theaters on February 7th for Wakanda Forever and February 17th for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania.
Wow.
So
Cool. Very good. Good for them.
Yeah. Thunderbolts. I'm still not too excited about this project. You know, maybe hopefully we get a trailer and more comes out. But Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who plays Val, says they will shoot in June. She said she's no longer content with cameos. She said she wants to crack some skulls. She said she actually pitched it. She told them, I really, really want to fight. We'll see if that happens. I haven't seen the script yet. When reminded about Marvel's intense stunt training, she luckily agreed and said, ugh, I better get in shape. She also wanted to say in the original comics, she has, you know, referring to Val, that she has sort of a white streak in her hair, but I thought purple would make it look a little more of this world today. I didn't want her to look too much like Cruella or anything like that. And that kind of goes for the purple streak that you see in Wakanda Forever with her hair, and that we've seen in the end of Black Widow. So
I wouldn't be surprised if this project changes quite drastically between now and July. I'm just as you know, I agree with you, Jared. I'm not sold on that lineup. There's too many. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I don't dislike any of those characters, if I'm totally honest. But having them all together, it just seems a bit bland. Well, just not varied enough. Like we said, just too many super soldiers. And I just, you know, like Armor Wars was kind of chucked out there, and it seems to have evolved a couple of times since then. Is it a show? Is it a movie? Is it going to be about, you know, getting Stark Tech back? Is it going to be tied to Secret Invasion somehow, which it sounds like it is? Do you know what I mean? That show seems to have changed since its conception, and I wouldn't be surprised if Thunderbolts also changes as well, because I've not heard anybody that's gone, I really absolutely love that cast of Thunderbolts and I cannot wait to see it. I've heard a lot of people say I'm really excited for Thunderbolts, but not necessarily because of what they've already heard or seen. Does that make sense?
It seems like in my mind, there's almost kind of like an arms race going on right now in the MCU between like super soldier serums and gamma, you know, creations. Like everybody
and Vibranium.
And Vibranium and you know, stuff like that. But like, I don't know. Like, I feel like with Thunderbolts, where we're setting up here is we've got, you know, New World Order coming out like in the future. And I feel like wherever that movie leaves us ends up almost like kind of indirectly, but also directly leading us to Thunderbolts too, where like they're kind of dealing with a similar problem or something. I mean, it's got like this team of pretty much every active super soldier right now in the MCU. Like, you know, so it's kind of like it's a weird collection to just push like every active person with a super soldier serum on a team. And now they're like, I've heard a rumor that they may not even use Ghost. Is that true?
Yeah, so there's conflicting reports if Ghost is still on the project or not. I keep seeing people go back and forth from people who report stuff that, whether she's in it or not. So we'll have to wait and see. But to your point, though, if the villain really is Sentry in this movie, it's going to take a super soldier to catch a super soldier. So it almost sounds like, Sentry is the villain, a super soldier that can fly. And like you said, Alex, the Void could be something in his head to make him go crazy. And Val doing something basically like Tony Stark says, we create our worst, our own demons. Val's going to create Sentry from some kind of super soldier program that she's working on, and then they have to get a team to take him down. Now, that makes some sense, but I don't hope they don't ruin Sentry like that and kind of nerf him, just to make him a super soldier that can fly.
And that you know what? That's my worry. Like it always sticks out in me that Sentry and Hulk fight.
Yep.
In World War Hulk. It's just they just level everything. It's a little bit, in a way, I guess, like Zod and Superman in Man of Steel, where they just like throw each other halfway across the city and they're smashing through buildings. And I'm kind of looking at that and thinking, I want to see that. I want to see that Sentry. I want to see that Sentry there. And if that Sentry there turns up, they could double that team with double the people that they've got, and he's wiped the floor with all of them. And like you said, if they're going to nerf him just to make a flying Bucky, no offense to Bucky, I love Bucky, but do you know what I mean?
I mean, they nerfed Taskmaster, so anyways.
Yeah.
I want to read something, a tweet from Charles Villanueva. He's one of the Charles from Marvel's Multiverse. He said, here's an easy fix that would make the Thunderbolts lineup better. Turn Red Guardian into Atlas. Make Alexi's whole thing about how he's useless, a useless version of Cap since Walker is in the team. So Val forces him to use Pym particles, and he complains about the whole movie. Now, if they turned Red Guardian to like an Atlas type character, I think that would make it a better film. Because again, it's like Alexi, he's like a suspect number one to die right off the bat.
Definitely.
An age, so yeah.
I just feel like that would be a weird swerve, though, because we were going to get Ghost, and I felt like Ghost was going to be that sort of Ant-Man-like character on the team. It like she has that sickness because of like quantum energy and stuff like that. So what if they if Ghost is still on the team, what if they use her and that quantum energy that Janet heals her with or helps fix her, and they take some sample of hers, make some other serum, and that's how we get Atlas. They want to amp up Alexi again, and they give him that serum, and he becomes Atlas because of that. That would work with Ghost still in the film. And I mean, you got to think with the Super Soldier stuff, with the Gamma stuff, with all these other projects, like people are trying to replicate everything in the MCU. So like Cross was kind of the first person to kind of sort of replicate Pym particles. Like obviously there's got to be somebody else out there that's trying to do it or mixing it with other research or something like.
So remember I talked about Sonny Birch? Who's the special buyer? What if Val's that buyer and he did get his hands on some quantum tech?
That'd be
as well. And that could be how because remember, Ghost wasn't 100% healed from Janet at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp. She went off with Bill Foster, thank you, Goliath, at the end, and she was still hurt. So what if Bill Foster and Ava went to Val, found them. Sonny Birch was used to get some tech, some Pym tech or some quantum tech. Bill Foster uses that to fix Ava or give her a temporary fix. That's how Val manipulates and controls her. And that same breath, that's how they can make Alexi Atlas. That would work too as well in the movie.
And Ghost has got that room that Bill Foster made to like keep her from, like kind of like alleviate the pain and the stress on her body. And Val could very well just be like, hey, I have this room and you'll die unless like you do as I say, and they could use that. I mean, it's a little dark, but I mean, if they chose to do it.
Well, that's how she was kind of used before in the past as a weapon. So if Ghost is still in the film, I think that's how she becomes part of the team, is through all that quantum stuff, and they're tied to Pym particles, and the quantum stuff is through her and Bill Foster. From the chat here, T-Bolts is a mixed bag for me. Was super excited at first, but a little less when I found out more about it. Just trying to keep an open mind and have faith. And right now, I guess open mind is the way to go. So, another one. Can you explain Atlas? Is this the same as the Titan from Greek mythology? No, not the same. Atlas is kind of more of he can grow and shrink. He's almost like Atom Smasher, I would say. You know, if you saw Black Adam, Atom Smasher, that's pretty much Atlas. It's pretty much the same character. He can get really big. He can also be their Hulk person on the team too, if you think about it.
Well, see, this is what I was thinking about. Like, you know, with that lineup, there's not much variation. They're all just, like we said, they're all kind of the same. Even if you look at the Avengers, you know, you've got sort of Widow and Hawkeye, and then you've got a guy in a mechanical suit, and you've got a guy that can fly with a cape on. You've got a guy with a shield. You've got a big guy. You know, there's no variation in that Thunderbolts lineup. So it'd be nice to see somebody.
Ghost
it'd be nice to see.
Yeah,
exactly. So it'd be nice to see Ghost stay on the team, and then maybe a character can enlarge themselves or shrink themselves, or a character that looks a bit different, that's not sort of human looking. That'd be good.
And it almost feels like every character that's on that roster for that team has almost been like somebody's weapon. Like, like John Walker was basically like, trying to be the next Captain America. Bucky was like, Winter Soldier. He was a brainwashed weapon for somebody else. I mean, you've got Yelena, who was part of the Red Room. She was forced to be somebody else's weapon. Same with Taskmaster. Same with Ghost. I mean, like, that's kind of where you're getting this kind of, I feel like, it's a continuation of their stories of being somebody else's tool for some sort of issue that they want to tackle.
And on that line, I understand that for a few of those guys, but for Bucky, it certainly doesn't make sense.
It's like a U-turn.
That's it.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, I've got out of that game and now I'm going back in it. And I would have even said the same for Yelena after watching the end of Hawkeye. I would have thought she was out. After speaking to Clint, you would have thought she would have been out of that kind of life and out of doing stuff for other people. But now they seem to be sort of dragged back in again. So it just seems strange.
The one thing I do hope is true, though, is that Songbird rumor is true.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully that does happen, because that would bring a lot more variance to the team as well.
Yeah, great character.
So New World Order, it is set to start filming March 27th from reports. I'm going to butcher this name, and I'm so sorry about this. Yosha Rockmore joins the cast. And there's a lot of rumors out there that Serpent Society will be in this film. Remember before I said that we could see Gamma be the cause of Serpent Society, Gamma Tech. And the rumor is that she is Diamondback / Rachel Layton in the movie, this casting. So there's one of your prime Serpent Society members right there. And maybe Samuel Stearns, maybe the reason for creating the Serpent Society, if there's some kind of gamma tech, some kind of gamma accident, or his testing from the original Hulk movie is what caused the Serpent Society. We just haven't seen them pop up yet. So this will be something to watch.
I like that animated show where he basically makes like the Gamma world and tries to turn everybody into Gamma monsters, and like all the Avengers turn into like Gamma monsters, and the Hulk's like the only one that can like stop it. I think something like that would be a really interesting kind of spin on the New World Order movie, Because how does Sam Wilson like go in and fight something like that? Like, like it just seems completely out of his realm. Like,
him and the new Falcon are way out of their league in this one. And that's why I think we're probably going to see She-Hulk in the film, see Smart Hulk in the film. They're going to need some help, and I don't think they're pulling any of the old Avengers, so besides Hulk. They're going to have to pull some people in this film.
And imagine you could set up a World War Hulk event where like the Hulk goes nuts, like trying to fight all these Gamma monsters, wins, but now is like pissed off and in a rage. And now it's like, now we have to deal with the Hulk now. Like, and you could lead into some kind of event with something like that if you chose to do so.
Or something happens to Scar, because, if Scar showed up at the end of She-Hulk, and if he's back, the Hulk's in this film, we're probably going to see Scar as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So, Andy, they agree with your comment about completely baffling related to Thunderbolts, so... Here's one of a nice topic for Alex. This is probably his favorite topic to talk about. Ghost Rider. There's a rumor going around that it could debut this year, similar to Work by Night, in a special presentation. And that goes back to the earlier rumor last week we talked about they're looking at Danny Ketch and Johnny Blaze.
Really? So they would do like a special presentation for both?
I don't know. Maybe it's just to introduce Ghost Rider into the MCU presentation, and then whenever we see Ghost Rider pop up, whether it's through a series or a movie, that there's going to be a Danny Ketch, but Danny Ketch won't be the writer yet. Maybe who knows?
I mean, I think right now is the perfect opportunity to not only bring one Ghost Rider in, but multiples. I mean, you
Bring
could
all
totally,
three.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you could bring in not only all three, but I mean, you could bring in like the villain Vengeance, who's also like a Ghost Rider, and like have this whole like thing where like you could make a show. You could have Blaze and you could have Ketch, who are kind of like, wait, so are you not the person? I thought you were the person that's been seen here doing this, and I thought that was you as the rider. Just like kind of like everybody pointing fingers, only to find out there's a mysteriously like third one that's been like involved, like trying to frame them or do something like.
Or
He
Reyes
kind of
rolls
like,
up in his car.
yeah. I mean, I would love to see Reyes come back. I'd like to see that actor come back. To be
Gabriel
honest,
Luna. Yes.
yeah, like and I love the car. I think the car is an
Yes.
awesome like touch, but I don't know if they would do that because of Agents of Shield and everything. Like bring that character back. They very might. I know there's talks of like Quake coming back, but I mean they could bring in as many Ghost Riders as they really wanted to.
The Caretaker, even.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like they don't have to be limited to just one. And I mean, the Ghost Rider is kind of like a thing. It's like a mantle almost. Like there are other people, Alejandro Jones. I mean, Frank Castle was a Ghost Rider at one time. Like you could have
The
other
first
people.
one, the Native American one. I can't remember her
The
name.
one who was a Sorcerer Supreme too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they could use the actress from Predator Prey for that one. She would kill at that
Mhm.
role.
Yeah, and then there's like Ghost Rider 1,000,000 who was like out there riding a flaming woolly mammoth. I mean, like
Is there a
there's all
space one too?
yeah, I mean, Frank Castle's Cosmic Ghost Rider
Okay.
is basically like he's got the power of the Ghost Rider and the power cosmic from Galactus. So like he's just kind of out there doing whatever he wants. So
So yeah, so hopefully we'll see. It'd be interesting to see who becomes those roles in the MCU, because they've had Daryl from Walking Dead. What's the actor's name?
Norman Reedus.
Yeah, Norman Reedus tied to it. Keanu Reeves. I know that the other Luna, the one that's been the Mandalorian.
mm-hmm.
What's his name?
Oh, I know.
They're brothers. They're brothers, aren't they? Gabriel Luna and the other guy. They're brothers, right?
You're
Well,
not
who
talking
was
about-
he? Who was he in the Mandalorian?
I think I'm the wrong actor.
I'm not sure who you mean in the Mandalorian.
No, I'm confusing him with Pedro Pascal. It wasn't the Mandalorian, it was somebody
Okay.
else. But there's Lunar Brothers out there, and I saw someone talk about them two playing Ghost Riders as an idea. And I can't remember who the brother is. There's Gabrielle and the other one, and they were saying make them two of the Ghost Riders.
Right. Okay.
Oh, they aren't brothers. Okay. I saw some. I must remember that wrong. It's okay. I'll go back and we'll talk about that later. But yeah. Anyways, like I said, make this that'd be a great movie. The idea that you have, have them introduce a press presentation, then to make a whole film just about Ghost Riders. That's all we get is Ghost Riders.
And like Danny Ketch and Johnny Blaze are kind of like half brothers related to one another. Like they kind of figure that out later on. So I mean, they could kind of play on that if they really wanted to, and bring them both in.
Cool.
Next thing is Channing Tatum did talk about Gambit. There's been a lot of smoke out there, about him possibly showing up as Gambit in the Deadpool Wolverine film. But he did get interviewed, and he said, I got swallowed up into Disney by the way of Marvel when they bought Fox. And ultimately, I just think the tone of the movie we wanted to make was very far from what they wanted to do. Or, maybe that's they're waiting to see how they do it with us or without us. We call every once in a while, but we've got to spiritually, emotionally, kind of mentally let it go. So that's interesting comment from him about that.
That is interesting. So it sounds like there really was something in the pipeline, and it got swallowed up when the deal went through.
So I wonder if this is how he comes in, is through Deadpool, because there's been some chatter out there about that. Possibly him showing up in Deadpool, the Wolverine movie. So that would be interesting.
And it would be probably just like a one-off type thing.
Yeah, like a cameo or
That'd stink.
But I did like the portrayal of Gambit in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I didn't mind him. I thought he was all right. Yeah.
Taylor Kish. I thought he did really really well at the role for what it was. So
Yeah, I quite liked it. It was only a short little introduction, wasn't it? But I quite liked it. Yeah.
They just need to make like a Gambit and a Rogue project and just put those two together.
Yeah.
You know.
You know what? That Wolverine Origins movies, for all of its for as many faults that it had as many cool things in it as well. Do you know what I mean? It was like a proper mixed bag. You was like, 1 minute you were like, what the hell is going on over there? And then the next minute it was like, wow, that's really cool. You know, that's some great little characters, little cameos in there. Obviously, it introduced Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson, and you know, obviously the opening credits. And yeah, I thought Gambit was good, and I quite liked Dominic, the lad that was in The Hobbit and Lost. Yeah, I liked his character. I mean, obviously, Hugh's great. There were so many good moments in there, and I quite like Lee Schreiber as well as Victor Creed. He was great, and then there was so many like other naff bits in there. It was a strange movie to watch, actually, because like I said, you was kind of back and forward in between. Is this really good or is it really bad? I'm not sure.
And it's funny with some of those characters like Victor Creed, like if you look at some of the other like X-Men movies and then you look at like that one, like I like some of the aspects of like Sabretooth on both sides. Like if I could take both of those versions and mush them together, you know, like and make one like decent character, I think it would be good. But it's like I like a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one, but I don't like all of each, you know.
And that there is the exact attitude I've got about that entire movie. I like this, I don't like that, but I actually really like this, and I really don't like that. You know, there was so much. It was such an odd film to watch because, you know, you sort of didn't know whether to hate it or didn't know whether to love it. It was just a strange movie for me.
Definitely.
From the chat here, overall, I loved X-Men Origins. The issue with Deadpool is bad, but I loved everything else. And I agree. And they've since course corrected that Deadpool with what they've done in his next two movies.
Deadpool course corrected that Deadpool. You know. So
correction on my part, so I didn't make a mistake. So I was thinking Diego Luna, who plays Cassian Andor, not related to Gabriel Luna. So I don't know why I got him confused with Pedro Pascal, but they're not related. My mistake. Yeah, just happen to have the same last name and so forth. So my bad. Next piece of news here, Daredevil. Tony Award-winning actress Nikki M. James has joined the cast of Born Again. Not sure what role she could play, but you know, they're ramping things up there for Daredevil Born Again. Hopefully we get more info coming up soon on if we're going to get straight 18 episodes of this, which will be a long series to do, or if they're going to break it up into 3 parts of 6 episodes. So.
Definitely.
Speaking of Daredevil, I've just got to the end of the Defenders saga, and I'm back on for like the 5th time or something now. I started on Punisher, so I'm about 3 episodes into Punisher. So I'm not doing bad, and it's amazing. I'm still only about halfway through that whole Defenders saga. There's so much left to go, but I actually really enjoyed the Defenders limited series. I thought it was quite good. I like they all come together. And I must admit, the more and more that I'm watching the fight scenes, the more and more exposed Iron Fist's fight scenes are getting. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was good. I thought it was good at the beginning. I actually quite enjoyed his fight style at the beginning. I thought it was really good. But the more and more you sort of stick him up with, you know, in the same fight scene as Matt Murdock or as Jessica Jones or, you know, whatever, and the more and more he's kind of lack of involvement in those fights kind of sticks out, and you kind of like, hold on, he's supposed to be the big gun almost, and he's not. He's getting taken out by like street level guys.
Yeah, like he's fighting Matt Murdock, and Matt Murdock's like, "You're not gonna leave this room," and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna stop me?" And it's like, I'm watching that, and I'm like, "Yes, Matt Murdock is gonna stop me." And it shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't. Yeah.
He's the master of martial arts, and so he ends up like getting, you know, just torn up by Matt Murdock, and then it's like, all right, let me go to my little magic fist here, and then, you know, like rely on that. And it's like, as the master of martial arts, like, it's funny that he can beat Shao-Lao the Undying to get that ability to become the Iron Fist,
But
he can't beat Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
Like,
Or even worse, like a couple of street level thugs managed to like knock him to the ground like quite easily, and you're like, come on,
or a drunk guy,
Yeah, that's that's it. That was fun. I must admit, I enjoyed that fight. But yeah, it's just like I said, the more and more it goes on, the more and more exposed he gets. But that aside, I'm still really enjoying it. So
from the chat here, LOL Phineas, I laugh every time I hear him say, "I am the immortal Iron Fist." So do I. Like that gift from Luke Cage when he's
that
like,
I always
what?
share.
Yeah.
There, he just rolls his eyes. He's like, "Oh, not again." No,
he's
not
gonna say it
with this
again.
guy.
But I do though, as they bring these characters and these things in MCU, I hope we do get some Misty Knight as well. And I thought Simone Missick did really well in that role in the series. So whether she comes back or they bring in someone new, I hope we get a Misty Knight type character in the series as well.
Definitely.
To be honest, and if it was done right, I'd take them all. Even Finn Jones, like just take them all and just do better with him. Like I'm in a way, for my job, I'm a teacher or an instructor or a coach, whatever you want to call it. And I've always lived by the sort of mantra: there are no bad students, just bad teachers.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, it's almost like there are no bad actors, just bad directors or bad writers or bad producers. Do you know what I mean? Like they're working with these people, like work better with them. And it is quite, and to be fair, on the Iron Fist as a show, not as the character, it is quite well sort of not understood, but there's an opinion of a lot of people that the writing did let that show down quite a lot, which I think is probably true. Do you know what I mean? So if handled better and given more time and given a bit of a shake up, I'm sure that Finn Jones could do a good job, and I would take the whole cast of that Defender saga over.
Yeah. My only comment to that is that Jessica Henwick was night and day versus Finn Jones in that series. So it can't be all on directors and writing, because look at her versus him. There's something else going on there, and maybe it's it's both sides' fault. It's there's always the truth's always in the middle somewhere. And so it probably was both sides' fault, but yeah.
And I actually liked that they were passing the Iron Fist on to different characters in that show, because like I know it kind of like seems a little bit all over the place on the story, but to be honest, like it was nice getting to see like other people use the Iron Fist and how they used it, because it like kind of felt like a crutch for Finn Jones's character of Danny Rand. Like it was always like his last resort of like, all right, I'm getting torn up here, like back to the old Iron Fist,
Yeah.
And so it was like always I guess like a nice little change to see other people use it and how they did.
From the chat here, I agree with you, Andy. Ben Affleck did a great job with what he was given in Daredevil. He was just given a crap movie. I thought he did fine with Daredevil, honestly. I didn't think Daredevil was that bad. There was some bad things in the movie, but overall, the movie was that bad for Daredevil.
That costume was awful. Oh, man. I did not like that costume.
That was a odd one, wasn't it?
Someone wants a Wonder Man release date on Disney Plus. I don't have one for you. If I had news on that, I'd share it. I don't even think they've started filming yet. I still think they're in the casting stage for Wonder Man. So I help you if I could, but I don't have any information on that. Another from the chat here. I always heard the biggest problem was that he didn't want to train or even rehearse for the fight scenes. Which,
that's exactly what I've heard as well. I mean, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But again, like in sports, you got these players, and they might not want to play for a particular manager. They might not perform for a particular manager. They might not respond or engage with a certain personality type. But then if they've got a different personality type that turns up and says, right, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to do it, and this is how we're going to get around your lack of desire to train or the lack of desire to put the effort in, and actually they engage with them, they respond to that type of training and that type of coaching, then they can pull the best out of this player. Why does a sports player all of a sudden, who was the best player in the world at one team, go to another team and then he's rubbish? Well, it's not really to do with his own ability level, it's to do with the surroundings and to do with the coaching and the leadership that he's getting. So actually, and let's face it, Finn Jones was fine in things like Game of Thrones. He was great in that as Renly Baratheon. I thought he was excellent. So it's not that he's a bad actor. Maybe he was just given bad direction, or not necessarily. I'm not blaming the director either, but maybe their relationship just didn't work.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Do you know what I mean? It's not
yeah.
not that the director was at fault or he was at fault. It's just that relationship didn't work.
They didn't mesh well.
Yeah,
I just feel like they didn't really know what to do with Iron Fist, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
yeah.
You know, like out of all those characters in the Netflix shows, like everyone, like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, like they all felt like, you know, like they had a point. You like knew what they were fighting against. Iron Fist was kind of like this weird kind of like weaving story where it just kind of always just like seemed to kind of take a new turn, and then they like end season 2 with him like shooting the guns. And he can like shoot the chi bullets out of them and stuff like that. And that was cool. And I would have liked to have seen more of that, but they just kind of like left us on a cliffhanger with that one, you know? And I feel like they just never really knew where they were going with that.
Yeah.
Another chat comment here. I think he just underestimated the significance of those scenes and he placed more value on acting. And that could be it too as well, you know? And honestly, if they didn't know what to do with him, they should watch the cartoons because Iron Fist is actually they do pretty well in the cartoons. I'm sorry to keep calling the cartoons, but there's all kinds of good stuff in the cartoons on Disney Plus from the old Marvel cartoons. So
I think there's probably that, you know, we talk about that quite often, don't we? We spoke about it in the last show with Luke that we did earlier on tonight. But I think that do you think the shackles are off in cartoons, like for the writers and the directors? Like there's almost less pressure.
I think so. I think they have more freedom.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. They're left a little bit to their own devices, and they can kind of just relax into the stories a little bit, and you know they're not as sort of tied. Maybe
you can create a bigger story, I think, with more like a more encompassing story of characters in those shows. Like, you know, the one where Kang comes back and he's like, Captain America, you're the reason that you've caused all this because of your existence. And the Avengers are like, no, you won't do anything to Cap. Like that's a great one. Like, because that's kind of like so forward looking. It's like your existence now causes all these problems in the future, you know? And that's just a neat little thing that they can do in cartoons.
And you can get into stories in cartoons like that, because that's a huge story. Like how you couldn't do that live action. That would take years in live action. It has taken years in live action to build up. Where in cartoons they can go, oh, and by the way, this is happening. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and at most you're gonna get 2 or 3 30-minute episodes of each, and not even 30-minute episodes. They're gonna be like 23-minute episodes of each. So like in a little over an hour, you get a 3-part story that's like full and complete almost, you know?
Yeah, that could take 5 years in regards to movies and TVs, like by the time you've released them and made them and all of that kind of stuff. And you still probably would just get the same sort of level of understanding of the story and the characters that are in it. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Some James Gunn news. So there's been a lot of chatter about if he's taking any actors from MCU over to the DCEU, whatever it's called now. And he said... the cast are like my family, explained Gunn. I cannot tell you how close I am to Chris Pratt and Palm Clementif and Dave Bautista and Zoe Saldana and Karen Gillian. But I also know I work again with all those people individually. I also know I will work with all those people again individually, probably at my other job. So it does sound like we could see some of them pop up in DC roles. Chris Pratt, Batman. I'm just kidding.
I was like, for some reason, picturing him as Superman when you were like talking about it. I was like, I could just see like him being like, all right, Chris Pratt's gonna be Superman now. Be like, okay, I guess. Like,
again, that happens quite often, don't it? I mean, that's why, you know, Samuel Jackson's in just about everything that Quentin Tarantino's ever done. Because again, a director will have people that they enjoy working with. Again, along the lines of what I've just saying there, you know, if an actor and a director get on really well, you know,
and I mean, like James Gunn does actually have family working on some of his projects, like Peacemaker and you know stuff like that. So like, I mean, and his brother. So like, it's funny. Like, they're like family. Well, duh, they are family. You know, like,
they are those people.
The chat here. Don't you mean his wife and brother? Yeah, his brother plays Kragan in the Guardians movie, and then his now wife. She was in Black Adam. She was in Suicide Squad too.
They would ram her in Black Adam just to like put the axe on it afterwards. Like, and it just like, oh yeah, we're gonna keep her character, but we're not gonna keep Black Adam. And it's like, well, we didn't really need her character to begin with, you know? Like, but okay.
Blade news. So it looks like Blade will start filming May 30th. So hopefully no more delays there. Hopefully no more problems, and hopefully that train gets on the tracks and keeps moving. Because I am really looking forward to Blade.
Mhm.
The last thing to round the news out today is Kevin Feige did make comments on Namor's future in the MCU. He said, people who read the comics know there's 80 years of stories with Namor that we can tap into. So where and when, we'll keep to ourselves for now. But we think that this is an incredibly iconic character that's being introduced, probably to most people, most moviegoers for the first time, and we expect them to want to see more. So
Yeah, there's lots of places that they could go with him. I'd really like to see a proper Illuminati movie be done.
Yep. I just want to see him kidnap Sue Storm and the whole thing with Fantastic Four, because they do it in the comics, they do it in the cartoons. That whole relationship with that is just interesting. But no, really though, yeah, he could be everywhere, and it's interesting to see what they'll do with him. I agree. They need a Illuminati film. I want to see him on, even Black Panther 3, what they're going to do with that. It's like you said before, a siege type film of instead of Asgard, it's Wakanda, and Telecon comes to help them, and that's how they kind of get maybe possibly exposed to the world at that point. Val wants that vibranium, so
It would be cool on the Illuminati note to see maybe like a multiversal Illuminati, like in maybe going into like a Secret Wars type event where we have like these different characters from across the multiverse come together, form the Illuminati, and it's like a Namor, Reed Richards, like all these, and they like come together with the sole intention of trying to stop Kang. Like,
I mean,
that'd be great, wouldn't it? That'd be brilliant.
They, well, I guess they can't bring Krasinski back because he died in that universe. But Namor could be the main universe member since Stark is gone, or Strange even, or both. So yeah, that'd be great to see, and that's a perfect way to introduce him as part of Secret Wars or some kind of project before Secret Wars to kind of set that up.
Yeah, I feel like for him to get that chair as such, I mean that metaphorically and literally, I suppose, but for him to get that chair on the Illuminati, I think he's got to do something else at this stage. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not really known, is he, on Earth at all by anybody?
But
No,
imagine
Wakanda, no.
Imagine a Namor from another universe where maybe Wakanda doesn't exist, and so like you have like maybe Namor who has Telecon with all of its vibranium, and nobody else on that universe, that Earth has vibranium other than Telecon, or something like that. Like they could do all kinds of different little things if they wanted to tweak the story. That's the beauty of the multiverse,
That's exactly it.
From the chat here, yes, happy to hear about Blade. Also says Namor. I need more Namor. Namor is deserving of a solo. Yes, they need to do a whole probably film right there. Could do it. And then this is what's interesting. I think we talked about this last week too, but I heard they're maybe fast tracking Doctor Strange 3. And yes, I think last week we talked about that, where the rumor is they are fast tracking that before Secret Wars. So interesting to see what they do with that movie. Are they going to stick with the whole Clea thing and do the dark dimension and have incursions that way, or are they going to completely change that and throw that end credit scene away? So
I think a little while ago, let's see when I edited this. I had it was when with the dates were released. Oh, I can't even find it now. Oh, here we go. So you remember when they released the dates and they showed us the Kang Dynasty and etc. etc. So I edited this on the 24th of the 7th, so 24th of July, about what movies I thought would come out and when. And I think I put Doctor Strange 3 in there. I did. So in spring 2025, Doctor Strange 3 Into the Dark Dimension. That's what I said. That's what I said in last July. Because it just makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense based on that end credit scene that movie needs to be before Secret Wars. This is the first talk we've heard of incursions. I reckon they will.
And I wonder if the incursion that she was referencing was when he went to bargain with Dormammu.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that made an incursion in the dark dimension, for example.
And we could have had incursions in the past, in my opinion. I feel like maybe Steve, like going back in time and staying with Peggy, maybe that's sort of an incursion. I mean, they could play it that way if they really wanted to. I mean, they could kind of do weird little things like that, you know, if they chose to do that in the MCU. But
Do you
who
think?
really
Yeah. Do you think that was like this? Not that particular moment, but the whole time travel thing.
knows?
Do you think? You know, the end game time travel thing. Do you think that's what kind of started the incursions off? You know, that's
Yeah.
what set this path. You know, all these different things happening, and we just haven't known about them until now.
I feel like the in-game time travel thing would be like, so the multiverse was kind of like everything was normal until the in-game thing happened, and then it started creating all these things. But the in-game thing had to happen because, like, had in-game not had the time heist, we would never almost have had a Kang.
Yeah.
Like, Kang would not come into existence
Yeah.
without the time heist happening, because, like, that had to lay the foundation for him to come into existence in the future almost.
But you gotta think though that if it did something to mess up that sacred timeline, the TVA would have showed up in either of those instances, and they didn't. So there's some confusion here between the TVA, bless you, protecting the sacred timeline, that type of thing, and where that fits. Is it seen as an incursion or not?
And
So-
Ravonna says in Loki that the Avengers were supposed to go back in
Yep.
time.
Yes.
Exactly.
So like you know that event was supposed to happen, but like it was like it's almost like when Doctor Strange looked into the future and saw their one outcome of winning. It was almost like even that was a part of the plan for somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like,
But Ravonna saying
you're
that
right.
line though, was that supposed to happen to keep the sacred timeline in check, or supposed to happen for the Kang thing to come about? We don't know that yet.
but I mean, wasn't the sacred timeline to prevent Kangs from like arising?
That's what we think though. But with her being in the TVA and what she's been doing, and she kind of seemed like at the end of Loki season 1 that everything that she was told and taught was a lie. The impression that I got, and that she went to go find more answers because of that. So we need to find out who's really making the sausage behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, I kind of feel like He Who Remains could have just been playing it as like a means to keep himself in power and be like maybe not like cutting the existence of Kangs, but more of like cutting them off before they become a problem almost.
Yep, exactly.
Like, and so like he almost has to allow his like multiversal existence across, but at a certain point he has to stop it and nip it in the bud, if you will.
Yep, that whole line about if you don't like me, you're not going to like my variants, right? So he was probably keeping that bay, yeah.
Yeah, you kill that. You kill He Who Remains, then a worse one comes. Maybe we kill Kang the Conqueror. Maybe even worse one comes. Like it's kind of like you always just end up going a little bit deeper in the hole almost.
One thing from the chat here about the whole Doctor Strange 3 and the Dark Dimension and Encourager stuff. Someone says, "Gotta be, she's his daughter, isn't she? She's not his daughter. She's his niece."
Yeah.
But she is related to Dormammu, so that's correct. One last question, probably because we're at pretty close to the end here. Wonder if we get Mordo to come back and fight Strange. Yeah, because our universe is Mordo. They had storyboards for Multiverse of Madness that he was going to die in the beginning via Wanda. They cut that out of the movie. So last thing we actually saw the main universe Mordo was too many damn sorcerers at the end. So he could pop up, whether that's in another Doctor Strange project, another magic side, mystical side project. Yeah, I'm interested to see where we see Mordo next.
Well, I mean, with that line of too many sorcerers, I mean, it kind of sounds like Wanda went into Carmartage, I cannot talk, and kind of did his dirty work and killed off a bunch of them, So,
Yeah.
like that might work in his benefit for his original plans, so.
We done, Jorin?
Yeah, we are good to go.
A mammoth recording session tonight. Like we said, if you're not listening live, then if you haven't checked out the last episode that we recorded earlier on this evening, which was with Luke Smith from Hydra Collectibles, talking about Spider-Man, go check that one out. Thank you for being with us tonight. All these people that have been on with us live. We've had Roxy, we've had Jared, we've had RMC, we've had Mark, we've had Jamie. So it's been great to have you guys coming on and dropping your thoughts for us. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Jaron. That was great. We're going to be back next week, and we're going to attempt to talk about that next Avengers animated movie next week. We'll put a post up on the group and link it so that you guys can have a watch of it as well. So if you're going to watch and listen live, you can take part in the conversation as always, that interactive aspect of the show. Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure.
See you
Thank
guys.
you. Have a good
Take
one.
care.